Um, so so yeah. So for today's agenda, we're gonna take a look at what can be uploaded to SharePoint at this point, resources that can help as you're uploading your required documents into your self study. Just a few reminders, clarification on some of the information that's required. And then we'll leave room for questions at the end. And so, as Allison just reminded me, we are recording this so that we can upload the webinar onto the website. For those of you that want to reference either the recording or the slides, they'll both be available on the website. And so so with questions, we'll leave room for questions at the end. But as your questions come up, feel free to put them in the chat so that if you're like me, I may forget by the end of the webinar what my question was. So each of the folders, so here are the folders that are in SharePoint right now. And so within each of these folders, there are subfolders, all except for the ASR folder. And so we will be taking a quick look at SharePoint. So we'll do that towards the end of the webinar. And so, yeah, you can go to the next here. So the first folder in SharePoint is the additional reports and documentation folder. So thinking about what can be uploaded into SharePoint into that folder at this point, everything that's required can be uploaded now. And so you can be running all of the MIS reports and uploading those into the appropriate folders. You can upload all of the information that's required under each subfolder within the GA folder. And you can run the report in MIS for the performance targets and upload that into that folder. And then, so just a reminder, you'll want to refer to your we're calling it the HFNY report Excel sheet. And so Kareen sent that out to all programs, I believe week before last or early last week. And so you all should have received that. If you have not received that, please reach out to your OCFS program contract manager and they'll send that to you. But you can refer to that for almost all of the reports that need to be uploaded into SharePoint. And what you'll do, and we'll take a look at this also towards the end of the webinar. I'll share my screen and we'll look at this document as well. But what you're going to want to do is when you look at that Excel sheet, you'll see like a yellow highlighted box. You're going to want to enter your program's contract start date into that box, and it will automatically generate the dates for all of the reports that you need to run and upload. And then just a note, there's a typo on that Excel sheet. So for the dates that are listed in 12.1b, the date range shows 6 months, but you only need to run the report for the last completed 3 months. So it would be the September to November date. So 9/1 to November 30th, instead of the date that's listed in there, which is 6/1. And so you can go to the next slide.
I just wanted to mention too, I know you can read it on the slide, but it's almost like an activity that you would do for performance indicators, right? So you want to run your reports, look them over, because if you're missing any documentation, right, for like supervision, home visit completion rate, anything like that, you're able to ask staff or supervisors to get that information in so that you can rerun that report so it's most updated, right? So start running them now. You have until January 5th to submit. So really you have until that first week of January to be uploading the report. So it's a good idea to run them now, check them, make sure everything is in there that is supposed to be in terms of documentation. It gives you time to circle back to folks if they're missing anything up until November 30th. They can enter, missing information, and then that way you are doing the best you can in terms of your data. You have time to be able to correct or get things entered now if you're running the reports now.
Thanks, Allison. So then the next folder in SharePoint is the ASR folder. There are no subfolders in that folder. And so if your ASR has been reviewed and approved by your OCFS contract manager, you can go ahead and upload that into SharePoint now. And then just a reminder, so those of you who have programs that have a December contract start date, it's going to be really important that your ASR is submitted on or before the due date of 12/30/23, because that's a really quick turnaround time for OCFS program contract managers to be able to review and get their review to you with any needed edits, prior to uploading that into SharePoint. And then you can go to the next slide, Allison. So the next folder in SharePoint is the personnel folder. And at this point, all of the subfolders that you'll see in there, all of that information can be uploaded into those subfolders. And then just a reminder that the EOE information, that may take time to complete if you're requesting that from your HR department. So programs that haven't requested that, you should be requesting that as soon as possible. And then for 9.3a and 9.3b, nothing needs to be uploaded into SharePoint. That information is what will be reviewed on site if your site is chosen, if you're one of the 16 sites, but it's a really good idea to have that information prepared and on hand should you need to, should you be chosen, and then peer reviewers need to see that information. And then you can go to the next slide. The next folder are the policy folders. And so at this point, all policies have been finalized and should have been submitted to your OCFS contract manager for review. Once you receive approval of those policies of your procedures and those policies from your contract manager, you can go ahead and upload those into SharePoint. And then just an example of the two different ways that are options for uploading or labeling each policy in SharePoint. And that's in that last bullet. So you can either do it by standard or by each separate policy. We will be, like I said, we'll be showing you also at the end or before the end of the webinar, the HFNY website. But this is, you can reference the HFNY website to see a list of all the finalized policies. For those of you that, program managers that have come on, become program managers just very recently, you may not have been emailed all the final policies. So you will want to go onto the website to get a copy of those or be able to see those final policies. All right, you can go to the next slide. And then the last folder in SharePoint is the quarterly reports folder. And so we have one clarification. We have shared this in numerous other webinars, but just one change. So that would be for the December, those of you who have a December start date. Instead of doing quarters 1 through 4 for this year, we're going to have you do quarter 4 from the 21-22 year, and then the first 3 quarters of the 22-23 year. And then as you can see in each of the bullets before that, we lay out what quarterly report should be uploaded. If you're a July start, then it's the quarters listed, September start, and then October start. And you can go to the next slide. So resources that will be helpful as you're uploading your documentation. So the accreditation tool, which can be accessed again through the Healthy Families New York website, and we'll take a quick look at that as well. Utilizing the website in and of itself. And so if you go to the website, which we'll look at, and go to the accreditation tab, all of the previous webinars are listed there, both the recordings and the slides. And then also, depending on what we shared in that webinar, there will be attachments that will also be helpful. So if you go in and view those and look at the slides, you'll see that we've gone into detail and depth on all of what should be uploaded in SharePoint. And so you can really find the details for all of the standards that require information in SharePoint in those webinars and slides. And then the last resource that we have is the accreditation report Excel sheet, or I called it the HFNY Excel sheet. And that again is what Kareen shared with all of you. And we'll take a look at that as well. You can go to the next slide. So I'm going to stop sharing this screen so then we'll first take a look at SharePoint, just one quick kind of look into there. And then because I'm technologically challenged, I'll probably have to stop sharing and then go into each one. So bear with me. So let me just pull up what I want to pull up first. Just a second here. Just give me a minute. I need to. Okay. Sorry, one second. So can you all see that home page of the SharePoint accreditation
Yes.
SharePoint?
Yep.
Yeah. So here, here's the home page. And then when you click on documents, that's going to bring you to the list of programs. So
you'll only see your program though.
Right.
You don't have access to everybody's. So when you click on that, it should just be yours.
Mm-hmm. And so poor Markia, we always look at hers, but we'll just quickly look. We're not going to look in detail. Just to kind of show you. So here are the folders listed, like we talked about. And then if you click on this folder, you're going to see all of the subfolders that come up. And then within those are more subfolders. So this is the 11C report. So you're going to upload the 11C report under this folder, upload the 12B report under this folder, and so on. So let's just go back. The ASR folder, again, that doesn't have any subfolders. You're just going to want to upload your ASR once it's been approved by your contract manager. Then here are the personnel folders. And so again, within that main folder are these subfolders. So you're going to want to upload the information for 91A under there, information for the EOE. This is an extra folder that Markia uploaded independently, but that is not a required folder. But all of the folders that are required will already have been uploaded into SharePoint for you. Policies. So again, you're just going to list, you're going to click on the policy folder, and then you're just going to list however you decide to do it, either by best practice standard or each individual policy. Just follow that example that is on the home page here of SharePoint. And then lastly, the quarterly reports. And so you should have 4 separate documents uploaded into the quarterly report folder. So now let me see if,
Oh, you were sharing the MIS thing. Now it's back to the PowerPoint.
yeah. So we'll look at the MIS, then we'll look at the accreditation tool. So here is the HFNY report Excel sheet, or what we were calling the accreditation report. So here is where, right, you're going to see the yellow box, and you're going to want to enter the date, the contract start date for your contract. And then once you do that and hit enter, it's going to generate, all of the dates that should be, that you should plug into the MIS, into MIS to run your reports. One thing that I wanted to just highlight too is, in SharePoint, you're going to see a folder for the quarterly, or performance targets. Sorry, the performance targets. That report is not listed on this Excel sheet. But we have a slide that we'll talk about in a little bit to show you, or we already did talk about that. You want to, for that report, you're going to want to make sure that you run the last completed 4 quarters. In MIS, you'll run it to make sure that it's showing the last completed 4 quarters, and you'll just upload that report into that separate folder in SharePoint. And here, this is the other part that we wanted to highlight. So you can see 12.1b, instead of 6.1.23, it should be 9.1.2023. Okay. So then we'll go to the Healthy Families website. And I'll show you the two. Can you all see that? I can't always tell if it's following what I'm doing.
Yeah, I can see the
Okay.
website.
Okay, perfect. So first, let me show you the accreditation tab. So you're in the Healthy Families website. It's the next to the last tab here on the left. So you click on accreditation. And then this needs to be updated, but this top part. But here you'll see all of the accreditation sessions that we've had. And there's the recording and then the individual slides. And then, like I had shared, any additional resources that were related to the information we shared in that session or webinar will also be listed here. So for example, here in session 5, that's where you can, see a template of the ASR and equity plan guideline and template. Here in session 7 is where you can find the accreditation tool. And so we'll look at that in just a moment after I show you everything else on the website. Session 8, that's the so those of you that need to get the template for the boilerplate language for GA3E, that's right here. You can just click on download, and that's going to download a copy of that template, and then you'll just complete that and upload it into SharePoint. You can also look at the CQI plan. So that's something that also needs to be uploaded into SharePoint. And so you can take a look. If you click view, it's going to show you what that looks like. Here on session 9, this is the boilerplate language for GA5A. And I don't know why this is something we have to fix, but here you see it says view. Here it's not in blue, but if you hover over that, you click on that, it'll bring up that template. And again, download that, complete it, upload it into SharePoint. And then the same for session 10. This is the boilerplate language for GA5B. And that's the same thing there. And then today's session, we will also upload, then you can use this reference as well. So then the other place I just wanted to show you is, so for those of you that may need to see finalized policies, because for whatever reason you didn't receive them via email, or you just started as a PM and you didn't receive all of those emails, you're just going to click on policy manuals and appendices, and then you're going to click here, HFNY policy manual, and then you'll see it lists all of the updated policies. So depending on what one you may need, you'll just click on it and then it'll download it and you can insert your procedures. So let's just go back to the accreditation tab so I can show you the last resource that you can use that may be helpful, and that's the accreditation tool. And I think I just passed it. Now, where is it? Oh, here we go.
There, yeah.
Sorry. So you click, and then we'll go to that. It's just going to be a second. So here is the accreditation tool. And so you can see here at the bottom, it has tabs for BPS 1 through BPS GA. Here, this first tab is just kind of like the legend that you can reference. And then if you look, it kind of separates out by standard. And these different columns just show you, what they are. You can look to see what, if there is narrative required, what that narrative is. And then this last column just kind of shows where we, Healthy Families Central Administration, is tracking these different things, these different, required documentation and or narrative. And so that's just a good way to check. I mean, for example, the ASR has, and we've shared this in a previous webinar, your ASR has almost all of the required narratives, like all of the narratives required for your self-study are contained in your ASR. And so for that reason, right, you would just upload your ASR once it's approved. You don't upload separate narratives. You just upload your ASR, and that's going to satisfy almost all of the required narratives for your self-study. And we've, again, discussed this in previous webinars that you can reference. The remaining required narratives are going to be under that GA folder under additional reports. But this just can be a helpful tool to reference, okay, like what standard is this? Is there narrative required? If so, what is the narrative? And it'll list it all out here. So that can just be a helpful tool as well. And this really is taken from your BPS manual, your BPS manual. You can look also, you always can reference the tables of documentation after each standard as just a super double follow-up to what is required for your self-study. So I think let's go back. I can just share here. So we looked at all of the resources that are available to use. And then, the next slide is just a few reminders and clarifications. So, programs had asked what is the time frame for when programs should run the 1-4A and B report. And so, you can reference this here. I'm not going to read it verbatim, but it's really the same. Oh, if everybody could just put themselves on mute, that would be great. I hear a little background noise. Thank you. It's really the same report dates that you would have used to complete your ASR. And so, again, it lists out here what dates you'll want to run depending on your contract start date. And so, those of you that have a July, September, and October, you're going to want to run two different reports. So, the two-step from the start of your contract up until 11/14, and then the one-step from 11/15 to the end of your current contract year. December contracts, right? They're only going to run the one step since the 2022 contract period was all a one step for you. You can reference if needed, although it's everything you need to know is right here, but you can also reference this. It's on the HFNY website, the statewide leadership meeting in May, where Margaret Gulick went over. She did a kind of a presentation on, the report dates to run for your analyzing the information for acceptance and retention in your ASR. And then again, we talked about this briefly, but for the quarterly performance targets, that's a report that's required. Again, it's not listed on that Excel sheet that lists all the MIS reports, but there is a folder labeled quarterly performance targets in your SharePoint site. So you're going to want to run that report for the last completed 4 quarters at your program and upload that into that folder in SharePoint. And so I am going to stop sharing and check if there are any questions in chat. And for those of you that may have any questions, please just feel free to ask and we'll do our best to answer.
So for us, we had a contract. Ours is just started in December. So on the Excel, are we using the 12/1/23 in the yellow box?
No, you're going to do, I would have to, that's a good question. Corrine would have, let me look at what it comes up as before I answer that question. Because everybody should do their 23, but for you, I feel like, but I'm going to look. I'm going to pull it up and see what comes up. So hold for a second.
Okay, thank you.
So Allison, while you're looking, Carly had a question. So the folder that says quarterlies are there, or there's supposed to be a separate folder for that. So are you asking about the quarterly performance targets?
Yeah, sorry, I didn't want to interrupt, but yes, I only see a folder, I'm sorry, that says quarterlies.
So if you go into, let me just share my screen really quick again, and see if I can pull up. Oh, I think I closed out SharePoint, but give me 1 second. And we'll look again. I can show you where, just a minute.
So yes, you'll just to go back, Allison, you'll be good with the 12/1/2023 date. I was worried that it would give you weird data, but it doesn't. It's set up so that it'll run through 11/30/2023. So you can put the 12/1/23 at the top of yours.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so Carly, you're asking where you put that quarterly performance. And so we're just going to look at Albany again. It'll be under additional reports and documentation. And then it is, oh, yeah, is it under? Oh,
I'm sure
here
I
it
can
is.
find it. I just thought that it
It-
was in its own separate folder.
It's under the, and I could have been a little bit more prescriptive, but it's under the BPS 7. Can you all see
Thank
my
you.
screen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's that very last one down there. So I can update this these slides to just be a little bit more prescriptive to let you know where that is. I'll update that before I send it to be uploaded onto the website. But it's right there under the 7s. Okay. Any other questions? I can't tell if there are no questions because everybody's solid on what they need to do, or they're just not sure yet on what they want to ask or need to ask.
For me, I think that I am solid, but it's just what I have been or was doing until last week is getting everything together outside because it's going to become overwhelming, confusing. So even like the spreadsheet that Corinne sent, we ran all the reports to see what we need to fix, and we're only well, not we, but I, because I'm the only one in SharePoint. I'm only going to upload it when it looks as best as we can do, because if I start putting too many things in there, then I'm going to get confused. And when you all have to review my SharePoint, it's going to be a mess. So that's why like my reports are not there because we've run them, but we're just trying to fix everything and then put the best that we can put there.
Yeah. That's
Thank you,
fine. There's been
Demalia.
others that
Okay.
have said the same thing, or that just kind of waiting, because if there's any, like we have the typo that in the 12/1B report, like, just to make sure that all of the instructions are out, updated before they start uploading, so they don't have to go back and do things again in case there's something that's caught. So yeah, thank you. Totally get it. Just wanted to check in with people to make sure, like, um, we're not leaving anybody like feeling like they don't know what they're doing, they don't know where to access information. Some people are new, like, haven't done this before. So yeah, just wanted to make sure we walked through it again. And then if there were questions about what else needed to be in there or where you could get additional resources. And it's not just this, it's you can reach out to any of us at any time if you start uploading, and you're confused or you have questions, you can reach out. Kara, you have a question?
Yes, I know that it doesn't appear that you're requesting to have the background checks done, but I've uploaded background checks for each
Fine.
staff. But I didn't do it in one folder. I broke it up based on direct staff, program manager, like that. So hopefully that's okay. And my other question was, in the personnel folder, it asked what interview questions you're using. I'm uploading a separate sheet, like a Word document that has additional questions in addition to the standard ones from Healthy Families New York. Is that okay?
Yeah, if that's what you use as your interview questions, as long as there's a set, like they could see that you're doing it standardized across all, staff, it's fine. If you have, some people have scenarios that they use, it's just making sure that it's like a fair, hiring process. So whatever it is that you do, and you don't need to upload answers to questions that people have given, that stuff that if it's not covered, through HR's letter to say, yep, we have all of this stuff. That's if they come to your site, they're going to ask for that written kind of stuff. Like we don't, you don't want to put that level of personnel type of information for everyone to see, like that's more something they'll review on site. So it's like just your blank interview questions, like your job descriptions, anything that's personnel record, like somebody you can hold on to for if you're chosen and they come to visit.
Okay, that's what I've done. Okay, thank you.
Yep. What else?
And then, yeah, Tatiana, just to respond, yeah, that makes sense. You just shared you're not sure yet, but you think this was helpful. If you have questions, you'll reach out. And so, yeah, you would want to reach out to Jen, that's your program contract manager. But yeah, I think once you go in there to start kind of uploading, it'll make sense. But then again, just utilizing all of the resources available should really help you all to be able to, upload what's required and know that all of the information is in there, etc.
The biggest hurdle, I think, are the policies. So, like prioritizing, because that's the big bulk of what's being uploaded, are all of your policies and procedures. And then, so if you're behind on any of those, like getting you caught up with those are going to be important because you'll need them to be reviewed and approved by your program contract manager. So getting those in, because we can't have any that are missing. We need all of them approved and uploaded. And then the ASR. Those are really two of the biggest bulks of like information, in terms of like a lot of documentation. It's really those two things. And Kara, I don't know if you have another question or your hand is up from last time. You're on mute.
I'm sorry, I do have another question.
Sure.
I saw that I've done 2 of the boilerplates and I've put them into the system, but I thought on Melanie's slide there was a third one. Is there 3 or is it only 2?
So there's one for if you've participated in research projects.
Got that one.
Then there's one for the participant
Like grief or
participant death.
death.
Yeah. And then there is.
Those are the 2 I have, but I thought I saw on your screen that there was a third one.
Look, it did. Maybe there is only 2. Hold on. Let me look.
One says, it might be the same one, but just yeah, so I think we have it labeled wrong. One says 5A, one says GA5A, one says GA5B, and it's the same document.
Sorry about that.
I don't know if that's on your slide. It's on the website. So it's just because it's the names of it. So it's only the 2.
Okay,
it's just
yes.
named wrong on the website. So we'll fix
Sorry, yeah.
that.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, thank you so much.
So if we didn't participate in research and we didn't have any critical incidences, then we don't do those?
So
you
yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead, Allison.
I was going to say, yes, you will do that. You'll fill out the boilerplate. There's an option in each one of those to document that you don't have any. So you still want to upload something. You'll just say, like, there's a column that says no participant deaths, mark X. So you would do that for that one. And then there's one that says, for the boilerplate, there it is. Program did not participate in research after each date or each year. And so you would just click that and then upload it so that there's something.
Yeah, and I can show you too here while we're here. Here's the participant death and grief counseling. And so if you didn't have any, that would be great. And you just put your program name and then again your program name. And if you had 0 deaths, you'd put 0 here. And then you would also mark an X here. And that's it. So we have some time left. Are there any other questions?
I just have a question for you all. Has everyone at least accessed the SharePoint? Like we're able to click, we're able to get in there, you can see the folders, nobody's having issues getting in, right? Because if you are, we want to address that sooner rather than later to troubleshoot if it's an issue within your agency being able to access the SharePoint. So if you have not tried yet, at the very least, go in and just see, if you're able to click on and access the SharePoint and see your folder and click on your folder because we don't want to be troubleshooting on January 2nd for you to be able to go in or January 5th to go in and upload your stuff. We want to know in advance so that we can get that situated. So again, if you haven't, make sure you at least do like a let me just look at it kind of thing and click on it just to make sure you can get in. If you don't have access to SharePoint, if you're having trouble, you can reach out to Claudia Miranda, Julian. She's been working on getting folks access to the accreditation folder. So if you find that the link is expired, you're having an issue with your email getting in there, you can reach out to her. In terms of like your documents and what needs to be uploaded, you can reach out to your program contract manager and they can walk you through, if you need some one-on-one with that, in terms of the documents, you can reach out to them directly. All right. We're almost there. Almost
Mhm.
there. We're doing the same thing that you guys are, just so you know, we have to do our own self-study. We're also using the SharePoint, uploading all kinds of information. So our policies for central administration, our reports, like all of those things too. So we know. But if there's anything we can do to support you or help you, please feel free to reach out to us.
Oh, wait a minute. Allison, I do have one more question. We
Sure.
have a report. This quarter is going to end for us in December. So our quarterly report, our last quarterly report is not due until in January. What happens then? Do I have to get that report in before January 5th or what? That quarterly report,
Right. So what's your contract start date?
July 1st.
So I think for July 1st, we ended like you did quarter 4 of last year, 1, 2, and 3 of this year. That's what you were asked to upload.
Okay. Okay. So it
Yep.
was okay. 1, 2, and
That's
3.
what I have in my notes from the last, the November meeting, because I had the same question in that meeting. So hopefully that's helpful, Kara.
Yeah, so it's actually July. So it would be July, August, September would be your first quarter for this year. So that's the last report that,
September.
right, because it wouldn't even be due until the end of January.
Until the end of January, exactly.
Right.
Okay,
So
so
you're doing second, third, and fourth of last year, and then just your fourth or your first quarter for this
quarter
year.
of this
Yep.
year. Okay. Oh, so then I do have one other question then. In the quarterly report, one of the things that it asks for is, did you share your equity plan
Mhm.
with your advisory board? I'm just being honest and transparent. I literally completely forgot. We did talk about things that were in the ASR,
Mhm.
but I completely forgot about the equity plan. And I was going to do it in our next advisory board meeting, but that's not going to happen until next year. Should I,
Oh, like in the new year.
in the new year? So what I was thinking is, just so I can get something and I could send them a copy of that part, you know what I mean? I don't know if they'll look at it or I don't know, but
Mhm.
I don't want to be out of compliance. That's my
Yeah.
issue right now.
So I would plan to share it. When is your next advisory board meeting?
It's not until February.
Mhm. So I would definitely plan to share it and then, at that next one, and then make sure that you're documenting what that feedback was.
Okay, so
'Cause you'll need to
definitely.
get input. Yeah, so you could send it in advance and then make sure you're including that, um, so that way, if your site is chosen, you have the evidence that you shared that.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
Mhm.
So then, Allison, with that, so then documenting in the quarterly report that's due, right? Your first for the 23-24 years would be your first quarter of this 23-20 document in there that you shared it with your
Well, she wouldn't have. That's what she's saying, that in the fourth quarter or the first quarter she didn't. She's going to share it in the second quarter. She forgot.
okay. So right. So would she document? She was saying you were saying you were going to send it to them, but how should she document in her quarterly report that
The
she'll
quarter's
share it?
over.
Oh, okay.
It's
So
been
you
submitted, approved,
oh,
and
it's been submitted. Oh, I'm
mhm,
sorry.
yeah,
Sorry.
yeah, back in October. So
Right. Sorry.
yeah. So in this December one, you could say that that's your plan, is to submit it, when you complete the one for January, that you have your equity plan. It's going to be on the agenda for your next advisory board meeting.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sure. What else? All right. So yeah, reach out if there's anything that you need um, from us.
Thank you. I appreciate
Thank you
it.
so much.
Thank
Thanks.
you
Have a
all.
good day.
Enjoy the holidays.
Yes, have a good holiday.
Happy
Thank you.
holidays.
So Allison, and I was wondering, I have a question that's like very specific to my
Sure.
county. Can I
Okay.
just ask? I didn't want to take up everybody's
Yeah,
time
no, you're good.
by asking. I feel kind of silly that I don't understand this part. So that's one of the reasons I didn't really want to ask in front of everybody, because I know it's been mentioned, but I think I did something wrong. So on this spreadsheet that you all provided, I plugged in the correct dates for my contract start date. It's the July start date.
Mhm.
And for some of the reports that it's asking, it's saying that the end date should be 11/30, but that it should
Yeah.
be for the last year. And I'm still not sure if I should be going back to 11/30 or if I should be going back a year from our last finished quarter.
No, you would use the 11:30, because what's going to happen is it's going to be the most recent practice
Okay.
for you. Most people will have the 11:30 date, like it's not just you. And we did that so that it was most recent practice. Otherwise, like, for example, like your last completed quarter, you're in July, so um, it would be all the way back in September, right? So for
Yeah.
some of these, you wouldn't have, like, so if you were off on your numbers, it gives you some time to be able to look at it and get, caught up. So I know it's a little wonky with your contract um, quarters, but we did it so that way you have most recent information in there. Does that make sense?
It really does, and I totally get it. I just was afraid to run
Yeah.
things. The other question I have, again, I feel so silly, but what is PIT? So where it
Point,
says period, it says PIT?
point in time.
Yeah.
Ah, okay. I
So it's
just wasn't
telling
sure
you
what that
there's
meant.
no start date, that the report is just as of 12/1. This is what the numbers are.
Okay. Got it. I
Yep.
thought for some reason it was like performance indicator something, and I'm
Yeah.
like not understanding. And then as far as the last question, I won't keep you any longer.
No, you're fine.
Is
And also that's a good point, like in the future, not to update it now, but like if we are using acronyms, that we should have a key so that people know what it means, because maybe not everybody knows what that means. You know what so I don't think it's a silly question. I think that that was a good, like, for us to keep in mind.
I
You
have a
know,
feeling
that
a lot of people realize what it is. It might have just been me.
no, I doubt it. If you have the question, I'm sure there's others that do as well. Mm-hmm.
And you were
Um,
brave, and you were brave to
You
ask.
have to ask.
when
Yeah.
everybody left, yeah. Um, I ran the training report for the best practice standards. And so there's two staff that started 5 years ago that I have been working for about 2 quarters now trying to fix them coming up as ones in certain
Mhm.
areas. And it's really just not working. And I'm wondering, like, when I run that report, does every single one of those have to be a 2 or a 3? I don't really know what the best practice standard is when it comes to that. Because I know that like some of them, I think I don't know. I thought that I rectified, but apparently not, and they're still coming up and as a 1, and I just don't know how to fix it.
I'm gonna look. Let me look at your report. Hang on one second. There it is.
So the 2 staff that are coming up started in 2018.
Mm-hmm.
And so some of the trainings that all of our older staff that didn't have, we just did them in a team meeting last weekend or last week. So I don't know if those